Hello, friends. Mia Verde here, and welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. If you are returning, thank you for returning. It has been so fulfilling for me to share my burnout journey with you all. I didn't know how fulfilling it would be, but I absolutely felt called to do so, and I'm so happy that I was obedient and did that. For our new people, welcome. And this channel is, I am Mia Verde, and this channel is not only fashion, but I think I'm doing something new where I felt called to share my corporate life journey. So to all my professional women who are going through and experiencing burnout, whether you've overcome it from experiencing it in the past, or you are going through a stage in your life that you are experiencing workplace burnout now and don't know where to turn and you're overwhelmed, this channel is for you. This series is for you. I am a private boutique owner, and I worked for 20 years between consulting and full-time in a corporate space. So I am very well versed in many things corporate America, but this series is special because I was led to veer off from my normal, fashion tips and boutique style, and talk to you about burnout and workplace overwhelm. Be sure to comment, your experiences in the chat or below, and I would love to build a community of like-minded women who want to live as their highest selves, who want to reach their highest potential and be the woman that God made you to be, has called you to be. You have an assignment and a purpose. And in this season, it's time to start working in that purpose. If you need some realignment, maybe you've been working in what you thought was your purpose, or what is still your purpose, but you kind of veered off and things don't feel quite right. This is absolutely a time to share with us and get realigned and plug into your source, which is God. We believe in God on this channel. So without further ado, let's get into the topic of today. So we have been talking about the physical manifestation of stress, right? The physical manifestation of stress. And today I want to talk about probably the final portion of that physical manifestation. We talked about sleep and the lack of when you're experiencing burnout and going through a very high stress time in your life. We talked about weight and knowing your numbers and going to your doctor and your physical aesthetic and weight loss. I talked about how I successfully lost over 70 pounds. And, I turned around, I actually gained 70 pounds experiencing workplace overwhelm and burnout, and how I took control of my destiny and my life and my health and lost 70 pounds. And today I want to talk about something that's pretty unique to me, but I also do know that many women, especially women of color, experience this. And so even if specifically you cannot relate to this actual condition, there may be a unique condition of your own, and you can research how stress and burnout affect that condition. My condition was uterine fibroids. I suffered from them for a long time, but little did I know that stress exacerbates the condition tremendously. Oh, but I found out. I absolutely found out. So what I did a little research, and I just want to make sure I'm accurate, so I'm looking at my notes here. But stress can absolutely make fibroids worse. What they do is they cause them to flare up and grow. I can remember times where I was so stressed and so emotional. That emotion, that energy flows within, right? And I can remember times where I felt my uterus flaring, like throbbing. I was so upset, and I had to use like heating pads and things like that. And it was beyond cramps at that point, and I didn't realize when you get upset, that energy, that stress transfers to your body. And not only from a energy and stress, from a what do you call that? in that category, it's more of a, I can't think of the word, but I want to say like more of a theory of energy, right? But let's talk about the scientific. I found out that it's actually scientific that you're feeling what you're feeling. Because what really happens is stress causes the body to release cortisol. So I'm talking about energy, and this is the reality of the thing is not only is it energy, but it is your body releasing cortisol, which increases your estrogen production, and it helps it creates a growth environment for a perfect growth environment for your fibroids. I remember long ago trying to go on a low estrogen diet and doing things to try to help my fibroids, and they had shrunk and they were doing pretty well. And I had, no symptoms, no problems for a long time. And when I went through that season in my life where I was so stressed continuously, it never went down, they started to grow again. And they started to irritate me. Also, stress can cause muscle tension, and that contributes to fibroid pain. So I'm sure that's what I was feeling when I say the energy, when my emotions were flared up, and I'm a type A personality, so I go there. So when someone's talking stupid or crazy to me, or someone, did something they shouldn't have done, or what, how it is in corporate, something goes wrong, and you are at 10 because you are, let's fix this problem, blah, blah. And I mean, I go from 0 to 100, through prayer and fasting and my relationship with the Lord. I have improved tremendously. I'm not a 20-year-old anymore, so I don't just fly off the handle, but on the inside, I kind of do. I have controlled it, I've improved, but I'm still working on, God's still working on me. I'm still working on me. You know how it is, especially working with a diverse group of people. You don't know, just depending on, personalities, things like that. Like I said, I've been in my industry for a very long time, over 20 years. And so I've worked with very different personalities, especially being at working with people at executive level and being at executive level. So the stress that comes along with that if you've ever done that or if you've ever witnessed it, right? And so I did find out another fact. Now, if I pronounce this wrong, I'm sorry. Stress can contribute to the dysregulation of microRNAs. And I looked up what those were. But this leads to fibroid growth as well. MicroRNAs are what contributes to tumor growth. And I'm like, ugh, that sounds scary, but that's exactly what the fibroids are. They are tumors. And sometimes, you have to check them and make sure they're not cancerous and things like that. And so it got so bad for me that I absolutely had to be hospitalized. And that was a huge wake-up call for me. That was a huge wake-up call for me. I had no choice but to step away and look at what stress was doing to me, what that burnout was doing to me. And when you find yourself at a place where you were just happy, I was in a hospital bed, y'all. So I don't want to get too personal, but I love to share my story because someone can learn from it. And I hope that someone, even if it's one person, doesn't have to go through the pain that I went through. If I could save that person, then this is worth sharing my story. And that is what God has called me to do. While I was in the hospital, I actually found myself feeling relieved. I was in pain. I had to go through surgery, but I found myself feeling relieved that I wasn't at work. That is horrible. It was the only time that I could truly rest. Because when I was at home, I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating correctly. I wasn't, socializing or visiting with my friends and family. And I was on that treadmill that I didn't know how I was going to get off. And I don't mean off, never work again. I mean, that would be nice, but off as I used to feel so fulfilled in my work. When I was chasing my purpose and working in my God-given purpose, I still was professional. I still worked in corporate America. I owned a boutique. I owned my private boutique then. I was working in my boutique, and I also did corporate consulting, and I did private coaching as well. So I knew that the people that I was called to impact, I dealt with them every day, and I knew that I was in alignment with what God's purpose for me was. So that's the difference between maybe doing some of the same things versus when I took maybe a wrong turn and lost focus in an attempt to rest, right? So fast forward, I'm back in the hospital. I can't believe that this has happened, that I'm going through this. And the fact that my frame of mind was, at least my phone isn't ringing. At least I don't hear that dreaded, I'm traumatized by the Microsoft Office chime when you have an email, because mine goes off 100 times a day. So all of that was shut down. And it wasn't that I shut it down. God had to set me down. And it's not saying that God gave me fibroids and he wishes anything evil for me at all or for you. It's just saying that sometimes God knows it's going to happen. Well, all the time God knows it's going to happen, but sometimes he allows things to happen to give you a wake-up call, to nudge you and say, okay, what are you going to do next? Next, right now it's fibroids. This could be something different next time, right? This could be something that you don't come back from next time. So it took that time that I was off. I was off for a while, recuperating from my medical condition, to where I had to do inventory of my life and say, where are you going to spend? And here's the thing, I'm one of those people, I don't plan on retiring. I don't plan on retiring because I always prided myself on loving my work. Yes, I'm going to slow down as my body gets older, and maybe if I'm 70 or something like that. But I plan on doing what God has called me to do until I'm dead and in the grave, okay? That's the kind of life I want. And I want to be happy to do it. Happy and fulfilled to do it. And so I really had to take inventory of my life. I really did. And I want you to take... I don't want a medical issue or something, something happens to a family member or someone you love and you're not there, or something that can be prevented. I don't want that for you at all. So I say that to say I'm sharing my story again, because God has greater for you, sis. He does. And sometimes, there's the whispers, and when you start feeling off like this and out of alignment, God is calling you back. He's calling you back to that initial promise. He's calling you back to those dreams you had. God gives you the desires of your heart. So he's calling you back. It's time to explore those. So again, any condition, and like I said, you can apply this to any medical condition you may have. High blood, I wasn't diagnosed with high blood pressure per se, but during that time of stress and burnout, my blood pressure stayed elevated. I could not get it to stay down. I could meditate and breathe and maybe get it to go down for a moment, for the night, and then because I used to check it just to be sure. Then right back mid-afternoon the next day, after working for a couple of hours, it's right back up. So while I was in the hospital, because that medical situation happened to me, I had no choice but to step away. I didn't make the decision, which I would have preferred, and I prefer that for all of you. I didn't make the decision to walk away for my own health. I was shut down. I was shut down and I had no choice. And so during that time, because my health was in jeopardy, it actually, because that situation happened, it actually led me to mind shift, my second stage of my mind shift. And the second stage of the mind shift was freeing yourself from the good opinion of others. Freeing yourself. Once I took full inventory of my life to say, I can't go on like this. When I found myself more happy, is that correctly being stated? When I found myself, and not joy, I wasn't like cheering, but I had to be honest. I felt better being able to rest in a hospital bed than I did in my own bed, thinking about all the troubles of my demanding position. And And when I found myself at that point, my mindset, I said, something has to change. And that's when the second mind shift happened for me. And that was introduced as far as, what do? You have all these things, right, that you've accumulated that you are not responsible for. The more money you make, many people, the more you create a lifestyle around those earnings. And that can be a ball and chain to a life that you are not happy with, right? Or to a situation that you are not happy with. And in doing those and increasing those responsibilities and increasing those expenses that I use every day, or that and with increasing those expenses, I said, some of these things I don't need. Some of those, and that was nothing but God talking to me. Are those things needs or wants? And it's okay to have your wants. Believe me, it's okay to have your wants. But at what point is it at the expense of your fulfillment and health? Maybe you step back a little bit and downsize a little bit just to make it through your transition, and then all your desires are granted. And it's even better. It's even better because you are in alignment and you are working on your purpose and you are totally fulfilled and you're not stressed. And then you have the things you want. Maybe your wants change at that point. Are your wants tied to validation from others? This is where the therapy work comes in. This is where the self-reflection comes in, right? And so I had to do that. I had a lot of time to sit there and self-reflect. What are some of the things that I have now made a necessity for me, that I have to pay for with this salary that's really nice, that don't define me, and that are the wants for them, and keeping up with that is killing me, right? And so that mind shift of, you cannot care what other people think. You can't. This isn't about you. The only person that you have to answer to is yourself. And for me, God, I have to answer to God to say, I want that well done. Are you doing what I created you to do? Are you operating and living as your highest self? And so that's the inventory I took. That's the self-reflection I had. And so we are going to get into the mindset shift of freeing yourself from the good opinion of others in the next vlog. All right. So be sure to tune in. I hope you have a wonderful and productive day. And be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. I would love to have you, sis. Take care of yourself. Bye.